Okay, we are back with Fantasy Sports with AR. This is your host, Anthony Remedios, and I am here with Chris Linney. We are going to be in post 1 and 2. We just finished talking about our baseball predictions for the postseason, and now we are going to talk about fantasy football, and then we will get into a fantasy basketball preview as well. So, sorry. Also, just a disclaimer. Sorry for the technical difficulties with 3 parts to this episode. Um, so, by sure for the next episode, for sure by the next episode, we will be a lot smoother. So, anyways, here we go. Let's do fantasy football. Chris, do you want to? Why don't you start? If we want to, we can. I have 2 teams though, so that's why I didn't know if it was a great idea. But we can do. Yeah, let's do that. Why don't you read off your team and then I'll read off mine. Okay.
Golden Tate, and Quincy Enunwa.
Okay.
And I have one tight end in Trey Burton. And I have the Broncos defense, and I have Matt Bryan at kicker.
Okay. And all right. So for me, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna call this team 1 and team 2 simply. In League One, League Two, respectively. So I'm gonna read off actually go off by my starters this week, and then go to my bench for each team. So in team number 1, I have. Whoops. In team number 1, starting this week, I have Jared Goff, Devontae Adams, Mike Williams, Doug Baldwin, Gurley, James Conner, Jared Cook, Brandon Cooks, Harrison Butker, Kansas City kicker, and Chargers defense. Then on my bench, I have Allen Robinson, who is on a bye this week, Aaron Rodgers, Trey Burton, Joe Mixon, Mark Ingram, Matt Breida, Keelan Cole, and John Kelly. And then in team 2 for my other league, starting this week, I have Russell Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Nelson Aguilar, Marvin Jones Jr., Gurley, Kevin Coleman, Eric Ebron, Sterling Shepard, Randy Bullock, Cincy kicker, and Baltimore defense. On the bench, I have Chris Thompson, Robbie Anderson, Devontae Freeman, Mark Ingram, Rashard Matthews, Dak Prescott, CJ Anderson, and Corey Clement. Those are my teams. So, yeah. So for me, so how should we do this, Chris? Should we do this by position? And we'll sort of break down our teams, and then we'll talk about just players at that position as a whole. Okay, so we're going to start with quarterbacks. In team number 1, notice I don't know who picked up on this, but I have 2 very good quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, who was I picked him in the 3rd round, first pick of the 3rd round, and I have Jared Goff. Jared Goff I was only picking up as a second string, as a backup for Rodgers. Sure enough, I have been getting literally what has cost me the last. Let's see, I am 2-2 in this league. What has cost me both of those losses was not starting Jared Goff. He now every scoring for the thing that will be a little bit tricky for this show here on National Sports Radio as a whole is going to be the fact that each fantasy league has a different scoring. So for me, just I'm not gonna bother reading it, especially since in football it's very there's a lot that goes into it and it just takes too much time to read. But in general, touchdowns are like 6 points, and that's kind of the big one. And we are in a PPR league, as most leagues are. Anyways, for me, yeah, Jared Goff, um, over Rodgers. It's a risky move, but this week in week 5, after not doing it for 3 weeks and for it messing up my matchups, I decided I gotta do it. I just have to do it. So I'm gonna read off the point values from those guys the last 4 weeks. Jared Goff, week 1, 21 points. We are in decimal scoring, but I'm just rounding this off, by the way. Week 2, 24. Week 3, 37. And last week in week 4, 61 points. That is insane. That really messed me up. Let me read off Rodgers, who I've been starting for the last 4 weeks. Week 1, 33. Week 2, 18. Week 3, 26. And week 4, 18. And then today, they're in the third quarter, 13 minutes left. They're down 24 to nothing. And then guess how many points he has?
How many?
3. So, good job for me for finally realizing that Rodgers not better than Jared Goff. The Rams have actually been a surprising team overall. They really have been.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
they really have been a surprising team. So for me, that has been the shocker and just what's really been messing up my team. What about you? Well, oh, that's for team 1. For team 2, Russell Wilson, I've been starting him every week. Prescott, I really only grabbed as a second string for bye week purposes. Really, his only good weeks were week 2 of 18 points and week 4 of 22. Other than that, he really hasn't had a big upside. Russell Wilson, 29 the first week, 18 for week 2, 21 for week 3, and then only 9 points last week. So that was a dud. I'm definitely lacking in quarterbacks there. Because Seahawks just aren't that great this year. Which really doesn't help your quarterback. And Dak Prescott, he's on his downward slope, so we'll see how that turns out. What about you? Where are you looking at for quarterbacks? Why don't we break that down?
So week 1, Alex Smith had 20 points. Week 2, 13. Week 3, 17. 4, 5. And week 5, he still hasn't done anything.
Okay. Who do you have for your second string? Do you have any second string?
No, I just have one quarterback.
Okay. I'm just gonna say that's gonna hurt you when you do your bye week.
Yeah.
So, because when does Smith have his bye week?
He had his last week.
Oh, did you win last week?
For what, fantasy?
Yeah, for football.
No.
Oh, was it because of your quarterback, or was it just overall your team sucked?
Yeah, it might have been because of my quarterback.
Yeah, that's the thing about football is you gotta because they only play once a week and they have that bye week during the year. You got something that I look for when I draft is what are the bye weeks, and to also make sure that I don't have like 8 guys on the same bye week. Like try to make sure I spread out the bye week. That's part of how I also make sure I don't have one guy, like a bunch of guys from one team in football. Um, I mean, unless you're just picking guys from a really dominant team like the Rams or somebody. We for anybody who hasn't done fantasy before or is just starting out, biggest advice just for any fantasy sports, be it hockey, football, basketball, baseball, don't pick too many guys from the same team. Um, how many? That depends on how many you have on your team as a whole, the scoring that you have, and just a lot other factors like that that will play a role into that. So, in terms of my wide receivers in team one, um, not really sure what to think of that. I have Devontae Adams and Rogers, which when I drafted that, I thought would kind of be a nice combination. Mike Williams didn't have a great week against the Niners last week, only 2 points, and really only had one great week, and that was against the Rams in week 3, 26 points. Doug Baldwin sucks. I don't even know why I'm starting him this week. That actually reminds me, why am I starting him?
Doug Baldwin's garbage.
Damn it. And, well, oh, I know why I'm starting him, because Allen Robinson is on a bye. Okay, I'm really lacking in wide receivers in this league. That's actually probably where I need help. Yeah, I need wide receivers in this league. Oh, wait. Oh, shoot, I know what I should have done. Wait, can I still do that? Damn it. Okay, I'm going to make a change to my team right now. I'm going to put Baldwin on my bench. I'm going to put Brandon Cooks at wide receiver. And I'm going to put Mark Ingram. Should I start Ingram or Matt Breida for my flex?
Matt Breida.
I think. I kind of want to start Ingram just for the heck of it, because we haven't seen anything from him. Yeah, I'm going to do that just for the heck of it. Okay, we'll see how that turns out. Anyways, Brandon Cooks has been strong this year. Only my player knows who add. Yeah, he has 2 weeks of 30 points, weeks 2 and 4. And then he has he has 16 points in week 3 and 14 points in week 1. So he's been
That's good.
if you have Brandon Cooks on your team, start him unless you have somebody that's better than that, which I don't know who does. Start Brandon Cooks. I made that he was another one who last week was on my bench, scored 30 points, cost me the loss. Even had I started either him or Goff, I would have taken the dub, because I lost by like 3 points. I'm like, ah, come on. And then yeah, so I actually can tell I'm lacking in a little bit of wide receiver here. That's in team 1. Team 2, I have Aguilar, who's been okay, hasn't been great the last 2 weeks, but didn't get off to that poor of a start. 14 points in week 1 and 23 in week 2. Tyreek Hill has just been a monster out there. 50 points that first week, 20 points the second week. Not so great in weeks 3 and 5. In 5, he's only in the third quarter right now, and then he had 14 points last week. So, he's been a great pick. Aguilar, another one off to a great start. Didn't do so great the last 2 weeks. Marvin Jones, he hasn't been that great either. I'd recommend finding somebody else depending on who you got on your team. Robbie Anderson he's having a great week so far. Let's talk about that for a minute. Sadly, I stupidly started him on the bench against Denver, but he has five receiving targets, 3 receptions, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and one of those was a 40-yard touchdown. In my league, I don't know what that is in other people's leagues, but for me, that is 31 points. So that is definitely his best week by far. His second best week only being 11 points. My other wide receiver, Rashard Matthews, who I still have to drop. He's inactive. I'm not even going to talk about that, because I just haven't forgotten to get another wide receiver in replacement. And then I also have Sterling Shepard, who had two. He's been good the last 2 weeks. Not so great this week, but weeks 3 and 4, he was at 20 and then 26. So that's why I thought he would be a good starter. What about you for your wide receiver? What are your picks for wide receiver? How are your wide receivers looking?
All right. 1, Julio Jones had 18 points. Keenan Allen had 17. Mike Evans had 21. Adam Thielen on the bench had 10. Golden Tate had 14. Amari Cooper had 2. Marvin Jones had 5. And Devontae Parker was stupid enough to get injured in week 1, and he had 0.
Wait, who?
Devontae Parker.
Oh yeah. You still have. Wait, how long is he out for? How much longer is he out for?
He's out indefinitely.
Okay. I'm gonna try and speed this up a little bit. I'm gonna do running backs and tight ends at the same time, and then I'm not even gonna bother discussing the kickers because they're a kicker, so they really can't do you much good. We can talk about defense though, because some defenses are better than others. We'll do that, and then we'll just kind of look at those positions as a whole. And then we'll go into a short fantasy basketball preview that will probably take about 10-15 minutes. And then just for the fans, in future episodes, we will go deeper into fantasy basketball and we'll keep up with the football. We can also introduce fantasy hockey in the next episode. So for my tight ends in team 1, I got Jared Cook. For my other one, Jared Cook and Trey Burton are my 2 tight ends. Burton is on a bye this week. He's been a hit and miss. 2 points the first week, 12 the second, 9 the third, and only 17 the fourth. Jared Cook, he's been a hit and miss, but he's had 2 great weeks. 35 points the first week, 8 points for weeks 2 and 3 each, and 34 points last week. He's playing the Chargers this week, so that's why I also thought, that can be a good matchup. The Chargers really aren't that great of a team this year. They don't have that. Their defense. While we're talking about the Chargers, their defense has sucked. 0 points the first and third weeks, and 19 points the second week, and 8 points in the fourth week. I gotta get a better defense. That's how you know the Raiders have a good chance to win this week. Granted, we're talking fantasy points, but let's even look at the points that the Chargers defense has allowed. They allowed 38 points against the Chiefs, 20 points against Buffalo, 35 against the Rams, and 21 against the Niners. And they Chargers somehow pulled off a dub, but it was a very close week. In team two, I got Ebron, who I didn't start a couple weeks, but he's been good. He only has 1 single-digit week. 34 points was his best week in week 5 against the Patriots. And then my other tight end, I don't even have another tight end. I did have Walker, Delaney Walker, and one. I think that was in this league, right? Let me look here. Yeah, that was in this league, team 2. And then he got out for the year. Then I have Baltimore defense, who has been fairly sufficient. Only 1 single-digit week. Not as dominant as they were. Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking Minnesota defense. I had Minnesota defense last year, and they were great. They were a great team. So, Baltimore defense hasn't been, completely dominant, but they also have not been a total bust. So, why don't you do your tight ends and defenses? And that will wrap up sort of our team breakdown, and then we'll look at the positions as a whole.
Alright, so at tight end, I only have 1. I had Trey Burton. Week 1, he only had 2 points. Week 2, he had 8. 3, he had 6. Week 4, he had 15. And this week, he's on a bye.
Right. Okay. So, what about for your defense, team defense? Because we're
I
ignoring the
have
pickers.
the Broncos defense, and in week 1, we got 12 points. Week 2, we only got 2. Week 3, we had 6. 4, we lost 2 points. And week 5, we have 3 so far because they are losing 21-10 against the Jets.
Who do you have? Wait, who? What team?
Broncos.
Broncos. Okay.
Broncos.
Okay. Yeah. So in a 10-team league, I'm sitting 2-2 in each league, and currently losing in both of those right now. So we'll see how things shape up. How about you?
Okay. Even though my team is losing by 2.5 because most of my players are on a bye, Isaiah Crowell is going off this week, and he is earning my team 23 points. So,
Nice.
yeah, that's great. We are 1-3 in a 10-team league, and my brother is actually in the same division as me.
Okay.
And he is 3-1.
Nice. So before we get into the overall position breakdown, we have the. Let's just take a look at the scoreboard here. I have the NFL site up right now. In the third quarter, with 7 minutes to go, the Jets are up 21-10. You just said that. In the third quarter, with 7.5 minutes to go, the Panthers are beating the Giants 20-16. Carolina has the ball. In the third quarter, with about a minute to go, Dolphins are up against the Bengals 17-3. In the third quarter, wow, this one shocks me. With about 4.5 minutes to go, the Cleveland Browns are beating the Baltimore Ravens 9-3. Which, wow, okay, I thought the Ravens would be crushing the Browns. Well, the fact, let's say here, the Browns, even though they're winning, and they're the Cleveland Browns. And then the fact that Baltimore only has 3 points, holy cow. About 7 minutes ago in the third, the Detroit Lions are winning 24-8 over the Packers. Oh wow, that was a 24-0 like a few minutes ago. Wow. And with about 5 minutes to go in the third, Chiefs over the Jaguars 23-0. And at the start of the fourth quarter, we have the Bills winning 10-6 over the Titans. And we have in the third quarter about a minute and a half to go. Steelers 20, Falcons 10. So good week of football. Coming up later this afternoon, we got Raiders, Chargers, Vikings, Eagles, Cardinals, Niners, Rams, Seahawks. And the Sunday night game this week will be the Cowboys and the Texans. And we have the Redskins Saints coming up later on Monday night. And we had Patriots win 38-24 over the Colts on the Thursday night game. So, all right, let's take a look at the position breakdown. And then unfortunately, we are out of time for today. We will definitely start with fantasy basketball in the next episode, which will hopefully be later this week sometime. So, this has been a long episode just because it's the start. Hopefully, our next episodes will be, they may or may not be shorter. It depends on what we're going to cover. We probably will not do much baseball in the next episode, depending on who is available to join. So, Chris, why don't you start the position breakdown just as a whole? Quarterbacks that may have been surprising. Maybe the biggest performers at quarterback, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I only have one quarterback, and it's Alex Smith. So at running back this week, this is the first time I'm starting Isaiah Crowell, and I gotta say this is probably the best fantasy decision I've ever made because he has ran 125 yards. He has one touch, scoring 25 points for my team.
Nice.
So that is probably the biggest surprise because I haven't started him yet. And last week, he also had a pretty big surprise. Trey Burton going 15 points. Deshaun Jackson also got 11 points. And in week 3, I think that there were no really big surprises in week 3, except maybe Geronimo Allison, but I dropped him after that week.
Yeah.
And then in week 2, it was probably a pretty big surprise to see Adam Thielen on the bench record me 19 points. I should have started him. And then in week 1, probably the biggest surprise was Tevin Coleman scoring me 11 points, or Mike Evans giving me 21 points.
Good. So for my team, the two biggest surprises, I'm still laughing at this pick. I had first pick in League 1. Actually, I had first pick in both drafts, but in League 1, the one that I have Goff and Rodgers for my quarterbacks, literally the last pick of the draft, James Conner, who has just been, first of all, nobody expected. First of all, I was literally only getting him just to test my luck and see how he would do week 1, because it's like your last pick. I'll take my chances with it. It's the last pick. What else can you?
Mystery relevant, you know that?
What?
Mystery relevant in the fantasy league.
James Conner just has blown off. 37 points that first week. He had between 15 and 20 in weeks 2 and 3. 2 digits in week 4, but he has 31 points so far in my league right now. Two rushing touchdowns and 65 receiving yards. Nobody expected Le'Veon Bell to be out for this long. So this is definitely if James Conner is available in your league or for our listeners, go pick him up. Some of you may even be able to negotiate a trade for him. He was underestimated. I remember I was talking to a friend and he was saying, "Oh, so and so in my league had Le'Veon Bell and then picked up James Conner," like kind of claiming it as like a dumb move. But then after week 1, it's like, it's a shock to see this. So I definitely that was a sleeper pick, and like I said, Aaron Rodgers. Not that he's been totally a bust. He has not been up to the same that he has been. So Jared Goff has been my surprise. Then I just have a couple other bust moves that I have to get rid of as well. Just looking as a whole, the whole league as a whole now, Chris, I'd say just overall offensively as a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes has been outstanding. He's been great. He's been great. Ryan Fitzpatrick, shockingly, has been having one heck of a year. Minus last week, I'm looking at my league. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Oh, and I'm just realizing something. He's available in all 3 of my leagues, and I'm gonna go pick him up. Oh boy, I just realized something. Thank God I'm looking at this. Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though he's on Tampa Bay, 60 in my league, 60 points the first week, 48 for week 2, and 40 in week 3. And he's on the bye this week and had a crappy week 4, but that's okay. Go pick him up if he's available in your league, people. Go pick him up. He's actually ranked the number 1 fantasy player right now. So he's been a shock. Mahomes has been great. Matt Ryan actually hasn't even been too bad. He's had a great year. So, in my league, it is I can tell it is actually slightly a quarterback dominated league, just looking at overall their rankings, but hey, that's okay. What about you? What do you think are like maybe some big name fantasy players for the year who have been performed and stuff? And then we'll kind of get ready to wrap it up for the day.
Okay. So I have somebody in else in my league has Travis Kelce on their team.
Seriously, he didn't get picked in the draft?
Yeah.
How? He's like the best tight end. He's like the shortstops of baseball, where there's guys out there who are good, or like, who are average, where it's like, get the best, get the best guy you can. Shortstop, you got your shortstops and tight ends are like, you have your elite guys who like really are the best, like that you want to get early. Then once they're gone, it's like you kind of got to just wait on a tight end because it's like everybody else is kind of the same. So how did my question is, Kelsey's in that category. How did he not go in the draft?
He did go in the draft. He's just on a different team.
Oh, so somebody drafted him and then dropped him. Is that what happened?
No. He is. I'm taking a look at some players in the same league as mine that are on different teams.
Oh. Well, you said something about that he was finally on somebody's team.
I said, so the team that I am looking at right now has Travis Kelce as their tight end.
Oh, okay.
And also starting Andy Dalton over Jared Goff at quarterback.
I don't know why somebody would want to do that. Sorry if you're the person that did that. That's a risky move.
Also starting Alvin Kamara and Melvin Gordon at running back.
Those are pretty solid. Melvin Gordon has kind of fell off a little bit, but still. One thing I want to say about Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mentioned him earlier. He has 1,300 passing yards. And then we're gonna look. Then let's see. Andrew Luck isn't actually a bad quarterback. He's actually had a good year. He has almost 1,500 passing yards already. So just thought I'd kind of point that out to people. So that any last words on fantasy football, and then we got to wrap it up because I have some things I gotta go take care of. Unfortunately.
All right, so on my brother's team, he has Antonio Brown at wide receiver, Rob Gronkowski at tight end, and he is starting Carson Wentz over Baker Mayfield at quarterback.
Okay. So, all right. Any last bits to that? Nothing else? You got nothing else to add here?
Okay, and one other thing. He is starting Doug Baldwin over Michael Crabtree and Jordy Nelson.
Okay, Baldwin, wow. But those other two guys are also guys who are kind of falling off anyway, so.
Also over Julian Edelman.
Okay, then that one, yeah. I don't know why he would do that. Sorry to your brother, but.
He's a Seahawks fan.
That explains it. So, anyways, folks, that will wrap it up for season 1, episode 1 of Fantasy Sports with AR on National Sports Radio. This is your host, Anthony Remedios, and I am here with Chris Lenny. Sorry for the 3-part episode, technical difficulties today, but the next episode we will pick it up with fantasy basketball. We will most likely, depending on when we do the episode, do a little bit of debriefing on the baseball postseason. Then we're going to get into hockey. So fantasy hockey and fantasy basketball will be the main focuses of our next episode. Stay tuned for more info. This is Anthony Remedios, your host, and Chris Lenny signing off. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and football.